Right, Vancouver's Writers Festival happened for Cynthia and I last Sunday. It was the last day, and we were signed up for a session on art, appreciating art, and our personal connection. We learned a lot, and I know Cynthia will explain. We didn't really know that it was going to be a panel, and we met some other interesting art appreciators. So would you like me to select one and you select one?
Sure.
Which one would you like?
Well, you know who
I know. So the one we signed up for has written about the Sistine Chapel. And her name is
Jeannie Marshall.
Jeannie Marshall. And her experience of revisiting the Sistine Chapel and looking at Michelangelo's ceiling helped her understand and share with us that sometimes you have to look at something several times to really understand it. And how often do we just quickly look at something? And Cynthia and I were chatting that yes, it can be almost like you've seen the picture before because you've seen it in a book or on TV, but you really need to stand in front of it and look and have the time. And this was one of her messages, that we should allow that time because it will begin to affect you in a very deep way. And that is brilliant, to be able to stand there and have that kind of openness and wonder about how it might affect you. And we learned that, in fact, there's some kind of response. One of the panelists said a neuro-linguistic kind of validation that something shifts in us when we're in that state, and art provides that. One of the examples was Noah's Ark. There was a lot going on, people clambering to get on the ark, and she saw it that way, that people were getting on the ark. But when you saw it from another perspective, the ark had already gone and there were people left behind. And it was during the COVID time. It just was one of the first opportunities to see things after COVID. It was 2020, I think, late after. And yeah, that came up for her, like all the people that didn't make it. And that was a surprise to her and to us too. Like, it is really hard to see things from a different perspective. Sometimes it's helpful to have a guide to tell you, but often you can get it by just standing in the presence of that. So art appreciation and the benefits and the need for were totally emphasized in this panel. So I'll now hand it over to Cynthia.
Thank you. Thank you. We had a wonderful time at the Writers Festival, and this panel of 4 people, Johanna mentioned Jeannie Marshall and her book, All Things Move, I believe it's called, and that's not the right title, but it's close to it. And also the other fellow that was there, an elderly gentleman with mustache and a big beard, who I immediately fell in love with, was Max Wyman. He talked about art and how art can be so healing and so important in our lives. He even said that he thought doctors should prescribe to patients to go to art galleries and look at art pictures and not just look at them and walk away, but to study them and stand in front of them, get what the artist is trying to say and get that feeling right into their soul, and how therapeutic that would be. He very, very much believed that. And he also believed that art should be taught in schools as well. Very important for that as well, for the sake of the children and for education, and to open up their hearts and their minds for creativity and beautiful art, regardless of what type of art it is. So Johanna and I we came out of there just feeling like we had spent an hour and a half, 2 hours listening and enjoying hearing from everybody. And just like we came out, I just felt like, wow, that was amazing. I was expecting to hear from Jeannie Marshall more about the Sistine Chapel and talk about each section that she went and looked at and talk more, describe it more and talk about how it affected her more. Was I just expected to get more from her. I didn't realize that it was a panel that she was going to be part of. But thoroughly enjoyed what she read, and she read a lot from her book. It was very interesting. And then at the end, when we were all coming out, I really wanted to go and talk to Max Wyman. I really wanted to go and at least tell him how much I enjoyed listening to him and agreed with everything he said, and that I'd buy his book. And I, thank you for Johanna's encouragement, I actually got up and went over and shook his hand. I tell you, I haven't washed this hand since. No, it was just, I babbled on like a complete fool, but at least I got to talk to him and tell him how much I loved what he was saying and how much I agreed with him. So thoroughly enjoyed our Writers' Festival.